CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success. Welcome back, everybody, to CMMS Radio. We've got Howard Penrose right there on screen. He is the MotorDoc, ReliaSquatch, and he's one of the original members of the Syndicate. Now, anybody wondering what that is, you can look these guys up on CMMSradio.com, click on the Syndicate. You'll see all those cats in there. You see some funny shit there too. But the reason this core group is there, why it exists, is because you can get the realities, the absolute truth. You've got the integrity you actually need when you're doing business, when you're trying to solve problems, and you want people to call out what will really work and what's nonsense. So this week, I saw a post and it got me thinking, and sometimes I want to jump in and cause a lot of trouble, stir up the pot, whatever you want to call it. And it's more because I want to inspire some critical thinking. Now, if you don't know Howard, I think you should. And I'm extremely grateful because I can have these talks where he can take it from advanced, bring it down to a level that I can understand. And I want to talk today about a couple of things. First of all, Howard, welcome back to CMMS Radio.
Hey, welcome to, glad to be back. Sorry, just not going on this week.
Now, you're pretty well caffeinated today because there's something I saw online. I'd like you to, yes, that is the ReliaSquatch aerial
Our friend
resupply.
Michael, I reached out to him. I said, have you ever packaged these individually for somebody? And he says, and then we did the whole Army Navy thing. And then he said, well, because you're Navy, you have to buy 500 of them. So they arrived while I was out of town. I come back and it's all waiting for me. So
yeah. So now you're good to go for the long haul.
Yeah. This is getting ready for my third pod of the day.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. I miss caffeinated coffee. I don't do caffeinated anymore, but I love when you open up, Chaos and Caffeine.
Yeah.
Yeah. With a flavor or whatever you got and kind of talk about it real. It gives people some insights. It's very fun. And hey, we all need fuel for the day, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why not talk about my hobby? And I forgot to mention a day because I had to do it a day early because we're moving a powerlifting gym tomorrow. So I forgot to mention today that the health department came out with how healthy coffee is. And at least 5 cups a day is really good for your heart.
That's good to know. Everybody,
I am immortal.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. The other thing I wanted to get into was, this post about these concepts we all kind of wrestle with. We see things. Some of them are buzzy. I like to beat up on buzzwords all the time. But I also think there's a little room for the idea and the concept that we do reinvent and relabel things for relevance. And sometimes that's okay. Hey, I got this new product, this new approach, or I'm taking this thing that exists and I'm going to put a little spin on it. And that it might actually need a new context to reach the people that are here now, as opposed to the cowboys and cowgirls that are riding off into the sunset. So I want to leave a little room for fairness. This isn't a pure bashing thing. This is a learning thing. I want to get into these concepts around maintenance 1.0 all the way up through 4.0, maybe even 5.0, and get to the heart of the matter as to what is that really, regardless of who, what, why, or where. If I wanted you to give me a little bit of a history lesson on it and help people understand the way they should be looking at this, how they should frame it.
Okay, and I'm going to put this into a little bit of context. I'm looking at, I had to look it up. We talked about it, and I go, it kind of depends on who you talk to. But for the maintenance 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0, that was Mowbray. And it was popularized because it involved military, involved this and that. And he defined it kind of like maintenance 1.0 was reactive, and I'm looking at my notes here. So reactive maintenance, the run to failure, basic skill stuff, and everything else. And you have to remember that we're talking about the early days. The RCM was just a thought at that point, being used by the military, but hadn't been adopted by industry yet. So then we get into maintenance 2.0. That's your preventive and planned maintenance. Okay, so very, very clear-cut stuff. This is the basics of, and that's why I presented it that way. And not looking at my notes, I know, and as you mentioned, and we were talking about before we started, all these buzzwords and stuff like that. And it's got to be this way or that way. The problem that we've been running into is it's this extreme or the other extreme, or it's whatever that person knows, and they keep repackaging the same thing over and over and over again. The only thing that's happening these days, as we're watching automation, it's going to accelerate so fast that we're not going to have a chance to react to problems, because we're going to digitalize and make it, basically monitor and do all the automation and everything. So all we're doing is accelerating failure, and we're actually watching it happen. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. I mean, all we did was automated the same mistakes we've always been making, right? So then 3.0 became condition-based and reliability-centered maintenance. Now, they called it predictive maintenance then, and we had this talk at the CB Mug, EPRI's condition-based maintenance thing. That's where I was this week. Actually, I was at two conferences. I was there in Florida, and I was also in Montreal at the same time. So I have figured out how to transport myself. Star Trek is here. No, just kidding. But I had Seagray and IEEE there for all the grid and power generation stuff, and then the power generation stuff. So last week was all power generation, right? So in any case, so we get into 3.0, which is condition-based predictive maintenance. That was a topic of discussion because the term predictive maintenance fell out of favor. But now I find out in a discussion we had in a presentation that the term predictive maintenance is coming back, but it's got a completely different meaning now, right? So this is what's been happening. So anyways, so 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0, these are basically your underpinning of maintenance. So the stuff that when we talk about all the things with, what percentage you should have reactive, what planned, what condition-based, and everything else. 4.0, that came from a paper, and I think I had the name of the person who came up with it, but it was a paper written some time ago, and the idea was automated, right? Automated maintenance, connected, data-driven, all the stuff we're attempting to do now. So that included your edge, digital twins, automated diagnostics, everything that isn't, basically, in my opinion, isn't working. But that's also basically all the integration of all this stuff digitally that everybody's trying to do. And everybody's an expert, but it's only been 4 years.
Question.
Yeah.
Could we, based on your description, and I'm basing this on things I've consumed, seen, agreed, disagreed, whatever, blah, 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 over the years. It feels more to me like instead of the word maintenance, it's supposed to be industry. Not as industry itself improved, but when we talk about industry as to how we approach it digitally.
So industry 4.0 was the buzzword. Automation, replacing people, right? That was the idea. It caught on with consultants. Being a consultant, we're evil.
Not all of you.
Oh, I mean, Silas Barnaby's my alter ego, right?
He's very evil.
Yeah. That's a character, folks, that I use on my podcast. I created a bunch of personalities in an AI. ReliaSquatch makes the stage next week, by the way.
Nice.
So, he's going to be kind of interesting because he's a programmer. So neither here nor there. 4.0, that was just, I tell you what, I'm a traditionalist. I believe in automation. Hell, I build some of this stuff, right? I've got some of the best applications out there right now that have survived since the early 2000s. I don't talk about them much because I don't want, some of these folks to go after those customers, because then they'll take something that's working and make it not. You know what I mean? Yeah. But 4.0, that always kind of drove me nuts. Anything where I'm being told the idea is to replace the skilled trade and dumb down the skilled trade, that was literally how it was presented in a lot of cases. That just turns me off. I mean, even when we talk about automation now and a lot of the companies that sell this stuff, when you get into the sales and marketing side, that's what they're pitching. Yet all of the standards from the people that actually are designing this stuff and applying it, so IEEE standards, IEC standards, ISO standards, all require a human in the loop.
Yes.
Which brings us to I almost called it industry, maintenance 5.0, which was proposed in one of those open source peer-reviewed MDPI, which is probably the more legitimate group. I mean, you still pay to have your paper published, and they go out and you get peer reviewed by people who have time to do the peer reviews. I've done a few in the past when I, had an hour or two on the weekend, but that's about it. So, and I would say not the same level as a conference level paper, but that was developed so that academics could do their publish or perish bit, right? So but it's out there. So kind of in summary, and I'm going to read off of this. Maintenance 1.0, how do we repair it, reactive or run to failure? Maintenance 2.0, when should we service it, or planned and time-based? 3.0, what is the condition and what happens if it fails? That's your RCM, CBM, and predictive maintenance, right? Any risk-based system. Automation comes in with 4.0. What can integrated data tell us, predict, or recommend? Connected monitoring, analytics, AI, and digital systems. And then 5.0, how do humans, technology, and the organization prevent loss and create sustainable value? That's literally, this is what it says here. And I didn't read this when I said human in the loop earlier. Human in the loop, first thing. Resilient, systematic, and sustainable. So we've gone from the route from everything's breaking to how do we keep people out of it? And I tell you what, all the companies that are laying people off because of AI, right? Because of a chat bot. I don't think people understand what an LLM is. I know they don't. It's literally a chat bot. But that's neither here nor there. And that loops us all the way back to everybody going in 2022, the term maintenance 5.0 was published, right? And that publish said, you know what? It ain't working. We got to get people involved again. The reason why, of course, I'm sorry. You know what?
You're good.
I'll let you talk because I'll end up taking us on a different track.
Well, I think you were going right where similar to what I was about to ask about. I don't know if that's proper grammar. Who cares? So
we made it up. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything goes here. It's CMMS Radio. No rules. Just don't bash anybody by name. The thing I was going to ask about when it comes to the push for and the idea that you can do more with less, in other words, have less humans in the loop on the plant floor doing the actual maintenance tasks, because technologies and data, and of course we would say in the right context, is going to give you that opportunity to have less manpower, if you will. It's a trick that looks and feels like it's going to work out. Are we setting ourselves up literally for an even larger gap that we will only see as a trailing indicator, and it'll show up in the losses and the breakdowns and going too far down the wrong path?
Yes, and it's worse than that.
How so?
Okay, so here's the thing. People are being sold a bill of goods. Okay? Oh my gosh, we're in danger. The world's going to end. The AI is going to take over. It can't. It's going to do terrible things if terrible people do the programming because of something called bias, right? It's also going to follow your direction exactly, which is why we have problems with it, because it has no capability of context. Okay, human being, we have, each of us approaches something a little differently, right? Some of us are similar. I mean, that's why you take, in the military, you go through basic training. The whole idea is you tear somebody down and then you basically do as close as you can to a cookie cutter, right? You put up people that act similar, understand they have to follow orders similarly. And then you have the people that don't fall in that mold and they get discharged, right away. Why? You don't want, when you're in a military operation, independent thinkers. That old Army of One thing, that never worked. Right? You need a group that when somebody says, we need to do this, that everybody goes, oh, okay, we need to do this. They follow the mission. Whenever you talk to any type of veteran, it's always, they're mission oriented. If you tell them that you want to do something, they get upset when they see all these people doing chaotic, wild stuff everywhere else, except for focused on the mission. Right? Different mindset. They were deprogrammed and then reprogrammed to do that. The average person, and we're watching it for you and I in our generation, right? Are you X. Gen X or baby boomer?
I'm X.
Okay, so me too. So in Gen X, we were brought up a certain way. And now we've got these new generations. That's why they actually call them generations, because our experiences as a body regionally will be a little different, but basically overall very, very similar, right? I was a latchkey kid. You know what I mean? Yep. So I was completely independent. Go disappear, come back when the lights come on, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Nobody knew where we were. That's why we always watched our kids, because we knew what we did. So in any case...
Oh God, we can't even share those stories.
Nope. But in any case, so now we get into this bit. So we've got different context and everything else. So the machines have none of that context. They have a lot of information. They're automating something called machine learning or data science. I taught data science in the 1990s. I've been involved in data science since I was in high school, right? Played the games and tried to play the war games thing and everything else, because that was our era too, right? So when we start looking at this whole thing, we start looking at the fact that machines are logical, step by step. They're not chaos. They don't have chaos theory built in. You know what I mean? So they take logical steps to get there. All we do is make the system smaller and faster. And, when you hear things like, what's the favorite one? Neural networks. All a neural network is a decision tree that has a whole bunch of starting inputs, a lot of decision trees in the middle that are all percentages, depending on how the answers are before. Probability rains down, and then it zooms back in. What's the highest probability? That word, that letter, that decision.
So that's zero intuition based on experience.
Yeah, it's a decision tree that determines most likely. So an LLM is just was just an engine that sped that up and mashed more data together. So when we hear about ChatGPT and all these other AI, all that is mashing all that data. It's why they need these massive data centers to bring all the AI. Well, now what is it? 45% of the information on the internet is AI slop. training the AIs to put out more AI slop. Well, now we're seeing more errors, so they have to put in more guardrails. I mean, that's literally what they're doing, is they're trying to aim it to be more accurate. Now we're going out there and we're automating machines and we're calling it all AI. What we're actually doing is anomaly detection or classification. There's two methods of doing it. One is anomaly detection, where it just sees, oh, something changed. And the other one is classification, where it goes, oh, I got a bearing issue. Right? And it's past and then when you throw in any type of alert level, now you're talking an expert system. Set alarm, set bands, things like that. You have these, and we call it all AI. It's not AI. So anomaly detection means we've learned something and we see how, if it deviates, and we have rules in there. The next level is that one where we say, okay, it's this type of issue. That's your classification. You have to have known data in order to do it. And what's really funny is people are saying they're doing that, and they're doing it off a handful of data sets, which is impossible.
Question.
If they're using certain methods, right? You need tens of thousands or millions of data sets in order to get accurate answers.
So when we talk about this critically important, not only concept, but practice of having a human in the loop, we also need the right human that actually knows this stuff, that has done this stuff, that has experienced the, oh no, I was wrong, and it becomes part of their schema, lexicon, whatever you will, the way they behave, the way they respond. And I think of some people we know in common, I sometimes call them machine whisperers, that they keep it really simple, but they actually know because they knew when they didn't know, and it's how they learned the cost of inaction. It's how they learned
or they were too arrogant to point stuff out once in a while, or to realize they were wrong. I'm pointing the finger in the right direction here. I mean, that's how I learned. People go now, oh my God, you walked in, you figured out the problem in a half an hour. Well, that's because 10 years ago, I spent days on it and I messed up. I will never forget that again.
Well, the best way to learn how to avoid getting punched in the face is to get punched in the face.
But, and just so you're aware, that's how we train machine learning models.
They
go after rewards.
So their motivation is
punish it. So
just like humans,
right, you say you're right, and it goes, "Yay, I'm right."
Show me how you measure me. I'll show you how I behave.
Yeah, and then the other one, you tell it it's wrong. That's punishing it, and the terms are very, very close to that. So you reward, or you take away, or you punish it, and it doesn't want that. It wants the other because of how it's programmed, right?
Yeah. I want to try to package this all up and kind of take it to a whole different concept or level, or I don't even know. I'm making this up,
we're
right?
We're both heading the same direction, but go ahead.
Well, I'm thinking that with this maintenance 1.0 or even industry 1.0 all the way up to 5, and who knows where that goes, can we, from now specifically to this idea of the machine learning, the LLMs, the programmatic nature of what it is, I don't care if you call it AI or not. I frankly don't need that term. Can we teach systems that work with data to truly mimic a Howard Penrose, a Mark Kincaid, and on like this through appropriate guardrails, or is that just not a thing?
10 terabytes of 40 years of data sitting on here while we're generating a system for troubleshooting electric machines the way I do.
So it is possible.
It can emulate certain things. It can suggest directions, right? So you want to be careful about taking absolute answers. Even like with some of the systems I've come up with that we put in market, you'll see that I throw in something called a confidence level. Okay, I am this percentage, I'm confident that I'm right this percentage, right? So a 33% chance that the conditions I'm looking at or listening to or seeing in current or watching on vibration is this particular set of conditions.
Yes.
Here's what we're still doing to this day. It's like, I've got this peak and I've got this peak out here. And they go, okay, I've got this, but they don't bring it together and do a pattern analysis saying that combination means that I have a belt problem caused by overtension, right? They say, oh, I see a belt signature. And you have to investigate it. But if somebody calls me and they say, oh, I'm seeing a belt signature, I start asking a series of questions, right? And when they're done, I say, well, chances are you've got this condition.
Right.
That
based
kind
on
of
confidence level.
But here's the problem. We're still doing the same thing. All we're doing, all the programming and doing, like I said, we're accelerating ourselves to failure. I started that startup called HRI, right?
Yes.
Human Reliability Intelligence Laboratories. And it's actually it's meant for the sports industry. But the stuff we're doing there feeds right back into what we're doing in the MotorDoc AI labs, right? So the people on that side, they're sports people in the new building. People on this side, we're the predictive maintenance people. And we were going to put a door between. Nope, you have to go outside and back in the building. I don't want the mixing because in the initial development of the tools that we're using for sports performance, identified things that are things that I haven't seen in our industry. I don't think we've conceived of in the industry yet. I haven't seen it in papers. I have never seen it presented. That was within the first month. Now, mind you, I've been doing HRI labs as the brainchild from this stemmed out of a Department of Energy project in 2007 that I was involved in, right? Now, because we're moved forward with it, now I'm getting dragged in a whole bunch of other DOE projects. I'm actually getting funding now, but that's neither here nor there. So HRI Labs, we're doing that, but what I'm leveraging out of that, meaning I don't spend a lot of time over there. I'm going to have sports specialists, kinesiologists, all that other stuff. This stems, by the way, the first parts will stem from my powerlifting experience. But I put together a board of directors and experts that know all this stuff. Yeah. So man as machine, think of it like that, or actually man-machine interaction, but that's neither here nor there. Some of the stuff that they're coming back with, I'm going, oh my God, if I applied that in maintenance, that'd be wonderful. Because all I've seen, I don't know if you've seen it, but everything's the same. We're speeding it up. CMMS systems, you might be able to manage more data and stuff like that, but it's a CMMS system. EAM, it's an EAM. Vibration, whether you automate it or whatever, it's vibration. All this other stuff is all, but nobody's looking at how to manage that data. They all say they are, but most of them are going out to SCADA data and saying, well, instead of using this sensor, I can use SCADA data, which is other sensors, to get a similar. What's different? Just like going and saying, I got
names and the labels.
Give me the relay history.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
it all comes down to the source anyway. I'm going to quote Joe Anderson at Reliability X that everybody's focused on outcomes or outputs, and the only thing that matters for that are the inputs. And that's where you're going to see damn near direct. I'm going to be bold and say correlation, that it's almost 1-to-1, because we're talking about systems.
Yep.
And that's how systems actually work. And people don't like it because it feels foreign and they don't understand it. And you have to do some work to understand it, and you overcomplicate it.
How many people in our industry are industrial engineers other than people like me? Right. So we're trained systems, right? That's industrial engineering, chemical engineering, stuff like that. It's process and systems.
True systems thinking.
Yeah. So somebody said, well, what about this? And every time I walk in, I'm dealing with a mechanical, electrical, or other type of engineer outside of that. And it's not the person, it's again the programming. People are programmed. So if you go in, why did predictive maintenance fall out of favor? Did I ever tell you the story of the electrical insulation conference where I dared say the word predictive maintenance of insulation systems?
Yes.
And I immediately got attacked about, oh yeah, do you have your crystal ball? If you're off by an hour, you're wrong. And I'm sitting there using the definition I was trained on, which is it's a probabilities thing. And we keep forgetting that. It's like when I talk to vibration analysts or anything, vibration, ultrasound, ESA, MCSA, doesn't matter what the technology is. They go in there and they see data, but they hold off giving an answer. I just watched 3 presentations where one of the wireless guys said, oh yeah, we detect the problem out here. We didn't tell the customer until the last minute. Well, why not? Well, because they would have asked how long it would survive. And we can't tell them that. And I've heard this echoed within our industry since I got involved in the 80s, right? From old timers. So it was well before me. And the problem is they're thinking in absolutes, which we want to think of when we're a tradesperson, because following that spec, following that standard, like torquing something to an exact value is important. But that comes from, before that, a probability. What's the probability that this will come loose? And we have to figure that out. And so you torque it to this level and you reduce the risk and probability that something will go wrong with that thing. If you over torque it, you increase the risk that it's going to break. Too loose, it unwinds itself, right? So somewhere, somebody had to think of probabilities and risk. So industrial and reliability engineering is supposed to be just that. That's why I said earlier, I give a confidence level. That's the probability. Then I give a risk of failure curve, right? It's not meant to be exact. It's to give you a rough idea, and you have a confidence level on that curve.
Well, and that's why they call it a practice. That's why they call you a practitioner, and that's what it is. So for all of this, among other things, and I'm sure there's going to be some cool announcements between now and then, I want to let everybody know MotorDoc, Howard Penrose, his team, we might even see ReliaSquatch. They will be at SMRP, the annual conference out in Raleigh, North Carolina. That's going to be October 28th through October 1st. I've got a special discount if you want to attend. It'll save you 10%. That is CMMSradio, all caps, smush it together. When you sign up, you'll save 10%. I get nothing out of that other than a way to get you there to have a talk with this man. And because there's going to be so many members of the syndicate, I'll have a booth for CMMS Radio doing a bunch of recording, but we're also going to be doing some cool stuff where I'm going to try to get opportunities, if I can get Howard over to my booth for 20 minutes for you to talk about some of these concepts, or maybe even announce, hey, we're going to go talk about electrical signature analysis for the next 20 minutes over at booth 530. But I want you to find Howard at SMRP and have these talks with him, because he can take it from the top to the bottom, connect the dots, speak your language. He will get going because he really knows this stuff and that passion's deep. And Howard Penrose, ReliaSquatch, MotorDoc, thank you, brother, for once again being on CMMS Radio. Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.